Of course, into Champion Select, and Kalista going to be banned away first. Of course, Tallywacker and King both favoring that champion, and Ari, of course, going to leave the Rift.
It's very interesting to see Kalista. You know, she's just come available recently in competitive play. We see people poking their heads out. We saw Radia playing Kalista, a few people trying it out, and then a week later, you know, when teams have had time to scrim with it, teams have had, you know, just kind of really assessed what happened, permabanned.
Oh yeah, just taken off the Rift. And I just took a long time trying to remember Sion's ability names. Of course, Decimating Smash is one of those ones that is relatively easy, but the rest of them are a bit ridiculous, and he gets banned. Of course, right in my face. Lysandra also going to be banned away as well, has a gigantic win rate at the moment across the league, so not going to want to give her out into the hands of anyone, either Sharp, Perfection, Cardred, Choo-Choos. If it goes into any of those solo lanes, it is devastating. And of course, Annie taken off the board here as well, and I love that ban. Love that ban. Of course, Chuffer is 3-0 on that Annie. Has played it in every game that the Direwolves have won so far.
And it really like accentuates his aggressive playstyle. He was an aggressive mid player. Whenever he's played, he's been trademark aggression. We saw that double kill from him last time out on Annie, which was surreal and awesome at the same time. So awesome. The Sion ban really sticks out to me, though, as we see Cardred considering the Morgana here. I love the Sion ban because Sion's a weird champion. In solo queue, you know, you don't feel like you do a lot on the champion. You feel like sometimes you're just this really tanky man. But the thing about him, the reason why he's so respected and competitive, he's very, very consistent. He'll always do his job. He'll always get tanky, do CC in the back line. You know what you get with Sion. Any champion that's reliable, for example, Aurelia is a very reliable champion. She has her peaks and troughs early, but always gets to a certain point. Sion's reliable, perhaps to the highest degree.
But over the other side of the Rift, we do have Hecarim and Rek'Sai being locked in, and Perfection has been playing a lot of Hecarim.
And Soulstrike's actual Rek'Sai was wonderful last week as well, so these are really powerful picks. And now they're set for frontline. They've got basically two high damage, very tanky initiating frontliners. And Legacy, they need to retool. They've got the Morgana, the single target CC negator, but it's not going to do much against Rek'Sai and Hecarim.
And Hecarim, I mean, he's going to get Dark Bound and while he's trying to come in, but then he's just going to Onslaught of Shadows or just canter into your face, being that horse that he is. It's very, very difficult to escape from a Hecarim. He generally runs pretty quick.
Definitely. There's a lot of initiation potential. On Legacy, they didn't give anything away with their first pick, but we're definitely going to get a flavor of their comp. As I see you kind of look a bit pensively at the Thresh. We've seen Morgana in the mid. We've seen Morgana all over the place. Choo-Choo's picking up Morgana, I'd be surprised about, just because, again, he's looked so excellent on those proactive champions, the Syndras, the LeBlancs of the world. He can definitely go the other flavor. He can play Morgana, but
it's been locked in. So Thresh going to be taking the AD carry role, I assume. Yeah, so Tallywacker going to be on the Thresh, and it's going to be a support Lee Sin with Morgana top. That is what I would assume. Varus is being hovered here as well, and if that gets locked in, then we might just be right. Who knows what's going on?
Obviously been polishing up on your meta picks. Definitely, you know the rules. We talk about flex picks,
I
and I think
been winning
you nailed
very
it.
much solo queue recently, for some reason. Yeah, my AD carry Thresh hasn't been really working out.
A lot of burst on that queue. Scales with AD and souls. If you're ahead,
I know, right?
You might lose a little bit later.
Yeah, no, I definitely did a lot of losing. But King is going to be looking at the Sivir here, of course, a very contentious pick in our last matchup that we saw. Of course, Immunity being quite polarizing on that champion, but King having some success on that champion as well, as Sharp looking at a Janna pickup and is going to lock that one away.
Definitely a very strong Janna lane. Of course, some Janna lane matchups, she struggles with a lack of sustain. She's only really the peel support. But in that lane with Sivir, give her the flat AD, she'll clear the waves, and they'll be pretty happy.
Yeah. Makes your boomerangs cut down minions a little bit faster. Also helps you with killing the old enemy champion every now and again. And we'll see what Legacy do to round out their team comp now, because of course, that could be Cardred playing the Morgana in the top lane. We've seen Morgana top across other regions, but will most likely be Choo-Choos. And they are picking it away from Sharp here just a little bit. Of course, playing Xerath in his first couple of games and then picking up that Morgana, but see whether it does work out for him, because I'm not entirely sure whether it necessarily worked. That was in a game that they lost.
Well, they picked 3 supports already, so you knew they were going to pick a Hyper guy. They opt into Jinx. Jinx is a very favorable lane matchup against Sivir, especially after a few levels with a bit of AD. Will definitely duel very excellently against the Sivir coming out of King, so they'll like that lane matchup. Of course, they have the Black Shield, they have the mobility of the Thresh, and of course, Lee Sin's disengage. And yep, they've pigeonholed it as the Morgana top against Hecarim. They're going to try and clear waves. Issue there, of course, is it's going to give Hecarim a pretty free laning phase, and we're talking about Hecarim with Janna and Sivir in his back pocket.
Yeah, and this is a Hecarim as well that, I mean, that Dark Binding, that does a lot of sort of burst damage on a really long cooldown, though, and you have to think, Hecarim's just going to press his W and not care at all about anything Morgana's going to do.
Well, that's why when we saw, of course, the Chiefs last week, it was them picking Twisted Fate into the Morgana mid, because, okay, Morgana doesn't really provide any pressure in that lane. You can pick whatever carry you want. In the top lane, it's much the same story. Hecarim's going to freely farm. He could even opt into a greedy build like the Trinity Force into tanky, pick it up at a decent clip. He's not going to get punished by Morgana. And they already have the move speed utility tools in their kits.
And rounding out the comp over on the other side, Direwolf's going to be locking in the Azir here for Sharp. One thing that we have to mention is the fact that this is 5.2, not 5.3 yet. So Azir hasn't taken that huge hit to his ability to do damage and is still relatively strong, but haven't seen Sharp on it just yet, and we'll see how he goes. Yeah,
Sharp against the LeBlanc. It can be a good matchup for Azir, just because if LeBlanc is too liberal with her distortions, you can take a lot of answering damage from the Sand Soldiers when you're trying to do harass.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of a skill matchup in the mid lane. It's Choo-Choo's, he's just played LeBlanc, just put in an MVP winning performance on that champion. Gambit's been thrown.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. And of course, LeBlanc's sort of not tied for damage at the beginning as well. I mean, if you land that Sigil Distortion combination, you're still going to be doing a lot of damage to that Birdman, and you're all over the map here as well.
I mean, there's so much support and utility for this Jinx. And Jinx late game, you get one kill, she gets excited with all this peel, the Black Shield, etc. She's going to be very strong. But I fear for Legacy, for giving Perfection especially.
Yeah.
A free lane. Like, there's nothing a Morgana can do against a Hecarim. Of course, there could be lane swaps. It hasn't been that common in the OPL, but they do happen. That will be a situation where Morgana's ranged wave clear, her auto attack will help her. But if they do allow this lane to happen, this could be a very big horsey. And there's only so many things that the disengage can do, because there's multiple initiation options here. There's a Sivir, so there's going to be AoE move speed coming out for Direwolves. Direwolves have a good comp here.
Yeah, and that on the hunt for the first time, giving a damage buff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how exciting.
Janna passive?
Yeah, Hecarim going to be doing some work in these fights. Of course, Sivir feeling very, very excited that now she's giving damage to her team with that ultimate. It just must be a fantastic feeling. But, of course, you get those ganks there in the bottom lane as well with that teleport. I mean, you have to think that a Morgana coming through for a gank, not going to quite stand up to the power and impact that you're going to have with a Hecarim down there.
I mean, in a teleport situation, if you get the ideal Soul Shackles, could be massive.
True.
There is the potential. She's still... I mean, kind of the other issue for Morgana is that she usually has to max Q in lane just to have that level 9 power spike with the 3-second stun and have good burst damage coming out. She might actually have troubles pushing against Hecarim, just because Hecarim gets enough levels in the Rampage, can push quite well. And it's limiting. She's got options. She's flexible. She'll farm. She won't be irrelevant. But they're really leaning on Tallywacker here. Just newly moved to 80 carry at the start of the OPL season. They're already kind of cashing in their chips and saying, all right, it's up to you.
And also, if you have a look at Tallywhacker's match history there, especially in solo queue, he's been playing a heck of a lot of Jinx, trying to make sure that everything's coming through. And this could be a comp that they've been working on together for quite some time. Okay,
and we do have a Twitter plug to put forward here. So if you do think the Direwolves, with the picks they've come up, are going to win, hashtag a DW win. Legacy, though, they're coming off a victory. Hashtag LGC win.
Yeah, and of course, both of these teams looking fantastic so far, only suffering one loss apiece.
It's going to shape the standings here for sure. Legacy, they've got a very hard comp to execute after a long game, a long, draining game. Direwolves, they're coming off momentum of a victory. They've got some power picks, but it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, and they're also fresh as well, you have to think. I mean, over on the side of the Direwolves, things looking pretty good for that team. Coming off a convincing victory as well, which is definitely something to note, whereas Legacy, I mean, they were looking a little bit shaky there towards the mid-game against Immunity. Of course, their comp managing to outscale towards the end, but no Scion to be had this time with his infinite scaling health pool and invulnerability to anything.
Yeah, I'm already getting the top lane banned, so that's a good thing there for Karjadon, his new role. I guess for me, Legacy, if they want to get this game going, they don't want to push it to late because we've already talked about the Morgana versus Hecarim matchup. It's going to be that the mid lane jungle duo that's propelled them to so many accomplishments already. Choo-Choo's and Carbon, LeBlanc and Lee Sin, they've already got an amazing skirmish duo there. We talked about it last game. We expected the LeBlanc Elise combo to really go off in the mid game and get picks, and it didn't happen. They need to execute on it here because they do have such a power trough in the top when you compare those champions. Morgana in the late game, Dark Binding's going to be nice, Black Shield's going to be nice, damage is going to be fairly negligible, and Hecarim's going to run wild.
Yeah, Hecarim is just going to be a complete stallion in these fights, tearing people apart. But Carbon sitting on this Lee Sin here, I actually quite like that. I mean, Elise has been falling out of favor just a little bit here. And of course, a very popular pick in Nemesis draft, which actually makes me think that maybe
backhanded comment, maybe?
Yeah,
compliment?
Maybe just a little bit.
I mean, Azir on this patch also. Not the on 5.3, not the biggest threat, but 5.2 still very relevant.
But, of course, Carbon now on Lee Sin, able to do a lot more damage in these ganks early game. Do you think that he's going to be focusing on especially that top lane if that Dark Binding manages to land? I mean, that could be a horse that could be killable here as we hop onto the Rift.
I mean, the early levels, that's your best chance to kill the Hecarim.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a repeat of last game. I think we're going to see the early level 3 gank in mid. They were successful in taking down Cheese very early in that game. If they can get a sharp overextending in mid, that might start the snowball for LeBlanc.
And we'll also see whether Legacy decide to scout for one of these lane swaps here as well. Of course, Cardred very safe in that situation. Does have that puddle that he can put down and then move away from the lane and not get harassed out. But so far, defensive starts. We do have a 3-man invade towards the red side of the Direwolves jungle.
Yeah, we're going to see some scouting for wards. On the minimap, you can see also going to be aggressive wards coming out from Legacy. The lane swaps are on, you'd have to think.
Yeah, well, they do have scouting wards available here, and we'll see whether Legacy react to that one. Choo Choo's just walking away from 4 people. Actually going to distort on top of them as well, as Soul Strikes takes a fair bit of damage here. And Tallywhacker just going to move to the side and just say, yeah, no, it's fine. I'm not here. It's okay. 3 members strong still towards that top side on the side of Legacy. We're going to see the lane swap instigated here from the Direwolves.
It does look like we're going to see some vertical jungling, although never show until 1 minute 55 hits as Choo Choo's doesn't want Soul Strikes to start with full health.
Yep, he's still not going to. That's a distortion and 2 auto attacks. Certainly doing some work. He wishes that he had a Spell Thief's Edge. Could imagine sitting in that mid lane.
Carbon and Cardred are still very aggressively positioned, and they've backed away from invading this red, so they're not going to trade reds. They have to be careful here, Direwolves, that they are at risk of being 3-buffed.
Yeah, Perfections is going to spot this duo doing the red buff, but Carbon is able to smite that one away. Cardred actually picked that one up. That, you have to think, was a mistake.
That is awkward.
Yep. But, you know, he's going to be much better at harassing this horsey out of lane.
That ranged auto attack. He's got the ranged versus melee advantage. It's going to burn now.
Yep. A little bit disappointing start here for Legacy as far as that buff transfer is concerned. Soul Strike's going to be able to take away this blue buff, of course. There is no pesky top laner in order to steal that one away, so he's going to definitely nail that level 2 mark and head towards these walls and continue jungling. Of course, falling down a little bit low, but he'll be fine.
It's worth noting, though, and this is being understated a little bit, he's been 3-buffed. You know, he's already had his red stolen. We see Lee Sin's already navigated straight to his own red, had a leash from Thresh just to help out. Even though it wasn't an intentional pass over, they would have preferred to have the experience on the Lee Sin. This is going to work out just fine, and Soul Strikes is now in a massive trough. He's going to try and look around at the Scuttle Crab, but he's going to be under level. That level 6 rush is going to be late.
Yeah, that is definitely scary. And of course, if he had have gone straight to that red buff, I mean, he might have had a chance of getting some work done here against Carbon, who was quite low. But as you mentioned, Ejim rotating around perfectly out of this duo lane, and Tallywhacker just sat back and farmed with those rockets.
Yeah, despite both teams invading aggressively for vision, suggesting the vertical jungling coming out from the duos of the top lane and the jungle, they instantly opted out of it. They had Perfection port back, and even though they confirmed that the buff was being stolen, they didn't have a plan to invade this buff, so they're opening up Soul Strikes to be just that little bit far behind at the start.
Yeah, and Legacy already winning the Mind Games battle here on the Rift thus far. And I'm so happy that Ejim is on this Thresh here as well. I mean, seen so much success on these engage-heavy supports. And see what he manages to get done this game because, of course, known as a bit of a hook lord.
Yeah, he does have those skill shots. They feel like they're targeted sometimes when Ejim's putting them out.
That one wasn't so targeted. But he was just checking to see whether there
sometimes
was a
you build them up, Atlas.
I know. No, it was a scouting hook. Scouting hook. We're fine. Absolutely fine. Choo Choo's just preparing his minions here so he can last hit effectively under this turret. Not going to quite manage to nail it, but of course the gold's still very, very close. Soul Strike's picking up the blue buff here, actually, as Carbon didn't head round there, I believe. Was that a successful steal there, Papa Smithy?
I'm going to say no, because it's just worn off. So,
not coming through this.
But more importantly, he's against a high-pressure jungler in Carbon on Lee Sin. He's picked up both Scuttle Crabs to give just that much more vision to his lanes. He's opening up safety and, of course, a nice bevy of gold coming out from both those Scuttle Crabs. So it's definitely not the big buff he wanted, but it relieves pressure from his lanes as he just returns to power farming.
Yeah, and you get a fair bit of gold as well from taking down those Scuttle Crabs. About 80 gold once you do complete that jungle item, so not too bad here. You'll be able to head towards that warrior enchantment all that more quickly. And of course, can navigate around the jungle very quickly as well with Rek'Sai's wonderful tunnel network. You can see in the top side of the map, though, 6 CS is the lead here for Perfections, but we thought he'd have run of that lane, and Kardra doing pretty well.
Kardra's doing fine. He's maxing the Tormented Soil, so he is trying to counter push. It does take time for him to counter push. He does some decent trade damage, but Perfection, he's not worried about dying anytime soon.
No, he's actually more than happy just to tank up all of the minions. Knows that Kardra not going to be doing all that much to him. And he's probably going to pull back.
And he is the regen lord with all those buffs.
That's the flash on Burrow, though, from Soul Strikes. Manages to get down the Prey Seeker here, as well as the Chompers from Tallywhacker as he tries to get out of this lane. A very aggressive gank. And managing to pick up the flash here from Tally.
Yeah, and Ejim also actually went for the flash hook. He was hoping to hook King under turret, but he was steadfast with his use of the spell shield. Cancelled that out, and now double flash down for Legacy's bottom lane.
Yeah, beautiful play here, and Direwolves managing to add their pressure to this lane. And we were talking about the fact that Sivir struggles a little bit in this one. They're managing to get back, and look at those spell shields. They're wonderful. It's actually pretty easy against Ejim, though, because you just assume that every single time he throws out a hook, it's going to land.
The preemptive spell shields. Yeah. Not quite Captain Jack required in terms of the cleanse or the spell shield in this case, but he's doing pretty well here, King.
Yeah, no, that is probably one of the best uses of reaction in the game that you mentioned. So, not quite there, but still pretty damn good as Tallywhacker. He's happy to push out just a little bit, but Soul Strike's coming around again. Does get the burrow through. Tallywhacker, oh my goodness, that was so close. Oh, the hook actually landing here. Chopper forced to flash. He's in a bad position, and Carbon picks up first blood coming in from the backside. Nice boomerang gonna land, but King forced to use that flash to get out, and Legacy, they may just transition to a dragon.
That was a really good transition coming through from Kardra. I'm not sure if Perfection had level 6 available yet, but elected not to rotate whatever the story. And Legacy, a kill and a dragon, that's a big advantage to pick up. Sharp's out of mana, so he might want to back away in the mid.
Yeah, going to be a little bit difficult, of course. Does have that barrier available. Fantastic for color coordination in that mid lane.
Ah, yes.
And Perfection's got a lot of work done to that turret in the top side as well. So maybe Direwolves just thinking, okay, we just want to get as much map pressure as we can. Of course, those 6% stats not doing as much work in this early stage of the game. Could that be their thinking?
I mean, the one thing I can say about their thinking is Perfection has really smartly built here. He is going for the carry item first, recognizing the low kill pressure in lane, starting off with a Phage. He can work towards Trinity Force, know that he won't be bullied in lane with it. And look, if they just give Perfection time to farm, he's now built himself up an 18 CS advantage in top. If he can get himself big, if he can be, you know, the Aurelia power spike of the Trinity Force, you know, starting up with the Giant Spell into Aranduans, this horse is going to do work in the mid game. So giving up an early game dragon, not a big deal.
Yeah, Choo-Choo's trying to get some harassment down to Sharp here as well, who, as you mentioned, just going through mana. The mana pool falling down very, very low once again. Carbon with the return steal on this red buff. Wants to have complete control. Takes the lantern over the wall and even manages to steal away that tunnel here as well. Carbon now transitioning towards the top side. Of course, that wave pushing towards Legacy. Tallywhacker able to have some time down here in the bottom lane just to catch up in farm. Of course, King, the farm lord, able to do some work down here, but he is going to be able to even that one up.
And even though he's had no impact in the lanes, he's actually very similar in experience here. Is Soul Strikes to Lee Sin. So although he hasn't had the big buffs, picking up the Scuttle Crabs and just staying in the jungle has kept him competitive, as Perfection might want to be a little bit careful in the top.
Yeah, and that hasn't been the name of his game thus far.
True.
Of course, has that flask ticking away, so a fair bit of regen. Oh, Dark Binding is actually going to land. That's going to spell Carbon's time to come in. There's the Onslaught of Shadows, breaks the Soul Shackles, and Perfection's able to get out.
Yeah, of those AoE initiation ultimates with a targeted targeted ground. I mean, it's the longest range one for sure is perfection on that, on the Onslaught of Shadows. So able to easily get away from the Soul Shackles tether.
It's not a problem at all. Does still have that teleport available as well as on the other side, Cardred not having that ability just yet. You have to think that this horse does decide to head towards the bottom side or anywhere else on this map, he could have an impact, but not until that ultimate is back off cooldown.
You can see the respect, though. He has been forced to go into Null Magic Mantle. He hasn't pigeonholed himself into a Trinity Force rush just yet. Of course, so many things that Hecarim wants comes out of the phage between the health, attack damage, and even the move speed that the proc gives, giving him extra damage. It's even more movement speed scaling as he looks down very fondly at his Janna and Sivir friends.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing just fine. And in the bottom lane, Tallywhacker doing very competitively in this lane. And this, when the BF sword is completed, the Sivir has to be very, very careful with her positioning.
Yeah, there's also the fact that Tallywhacker is just so able to clear out these waves as well as that Janna shield going to not last very long at all. There are the chompers in the box to come down as well. Chopper taking so much damage. The Monsoon going to help him, and wow! Steps out of the way of the Super Mega Death Rocket. And he is going to be fine. Choo Choo's, on the other hand, not so much as he answers back with a lot of damage, but doesn't quite land the distortion. And Soul Strike's going to make his way out. King with another brilliant spell shield. And the heal to get him out of the way of that Sonic Wave, as well as Carbon did pay a visit to this bottom side. Doesn't even get that ward as it times out as he gets here. And action all across the map, Papa Smithy.
And King didn't have flash there, so it actually was very fortuitous that he was on the ball with his spell shield. Had to use his second summoner. So for the next minute or so, is in a lot of trouble. But yeah, there was tussling on the top, tussling in the mid. 28 CS advantage, though, on top. Cardred needs to be a little bit worried here.
Yeah, and you have to think as well, Perfection is just farming this game up a storm. 11 minutes in, 105 CS, not bad at all for a top laner who had a difficult time early on, of course. Pressured a little bit, but
you can say that he's kind of taken away the lane after not rotating for that fight in bottom lane. He didn't show up at the skirmish, but that 18 CS advantage, being ahead in items, picking up that early Null Magic Mantle without sitting behind his build at all. They might not even contest his second dragon, but I'm worried about the Hecarim that's showing up at the third dragon. 10 minutes from now, this Hecarim's going to be huge.
Oh yeah, landing that Rampage as well, able to nimbly dodge out of the way of that Dark Binding from Cardred, who's taking a bit of harass from these Rampages as they come in. Of course, the Void Rush is going to come down just for some farm, and Chain's not going to land on a Sharp here as well. And we haven't spoken too much about this mid lane. Sharp doing okay as far as staying up in that farm is concerned. That 93 to 107 means that Choo Choo's still feeling fantastic. Does have that Morellonomicon. The Athenes on Holy Grail coming fairly shortly for Sharp, you have to think. The Soul Strike's going to just dig under the ground and head towards his red buff, or at least where he hopes his red buff eventually respawns.
I mean, when you're playing Azir into LeBlanc, your only power really is to clear waves, cause enough map pressure that Choo Choo's can't roam, not die, and keep up in CS. And look, to be honest, he's doing fine on all those. He's doing just fine. He'll scale in, of course. So much better on the defensive is Azir than going in aggressively. Of course, you have that option if you pick up a Zhonya's. But sitting back defensively, the Emperor's Device putting up a team, he's doing just fine, Sharp.
Yeah, we'll see whether he can have the impact that he wants to towards this later stage of the game. Of course, having that Emperor's Divide is just fantastic when you can have your Hecarim just dance all the way through it. You can even just knock people back into it as well, that Onslaught of Shadows, getting the fear as well. So able to use that to bounce people into a wall. Could be funny if we see some of the interactions here as Carbon's going to kick King out. He could be in a lot of trouble. Chains land from Choo Choo's, not going to quite get the snare. The Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't finish the job either. Soul Strike's now looking to come in. There's the two-man knock up from the Umburrow, but for some reason Carbon's alive. Just going to back Sharp now in a lot of trouble as Tallywhacker gets excited. Sharp manages to pick up Carbon, who was backing in such a silly position. Zap going to find a minion, and Sharp trying to get out here as the Scrying Orb just going to see him on his escape. Ejim wanting to do something, but not quite able to find it. Yeah,
both Carbon and King fell so low at the start of those engages at different points. It is a 1-for-1 trade. Both junglers falling in the end. I like Legacy for being proactive. They're trying to counter Perfection's free farm style with invading these objectives, smartly trying to take them with the skirmish power of the LeBlanc, but they've been made to pay for it. It's very even so far in this game.
Yeah, Soul Strike's going to use that Void Rush just to get back towards this dragon, which has come back up yet again. Legacy looking to make it 2 on that count. Direwolves wanting to get on the board. Ejim going to back on top of a ward here, and they're going to notice the fact that that Thresh, the playmaking Thresh, going to be heading back to base. He's going to now clear out that ward, and Direwolves might have an opportunity for Dragon here.
Perfection in top. He's not interested in contesting Dragon. He wants this Trinity Force at a decent clip, about 500 gold away from it. Knows it's going to be a trade for Dragon at worst, so of course global gold in exchange for the second Dragon. Not a big deal. They're trying to force though, and we could see a big fight.
Yeah, teleport coming through from Cardred here just to try and secure this Dragon. Nice Dark Binding's going to land on a King here, but you can see Sharp doing some work with those Sand Soldiers, and in comes Perfections. We'll see whether he can get anything done. Immediately exhausted, booted out of the fight, but that may secure the Dragon here for Direwolves as they do pick it up. Nicely played, and Perfections using that teleport, getting the objective.
Yeah, the Trinity Force wasn't completed, but the amount of zone control already from Hecarim, you have to feel that later in this game, that'll be because of his items, but just the pressure of the incoming teleport, it harangued Legacy away from the Dragon, and Direwolves, to some degree, steal that one away.
Yeah, and 20 CS up on any member of Legacy that you pick here as Perfections. He is farming out his waves over and over again, able to pick up all that gold, and you have to think that this mid-game horse is going to be very, very scary, especially if he's able to be on that offensive the whole time. Of course, Trinity Force, I mean, if you get locked up by a Dark Binding and killed, yeah, you're still going to die, but at the moment, looking fantastic. Even has those Mercury's Treads for a little bit of extra tenacity here as well as Choo-Choo's. He's going to take away the blue buff. Head back to this mid lane, where the bottom lane is now residing in Direwolves.
You have to really respect how much burst damage is going to be coming out, the devastating charge between Trinity Force, Sivir Ultimate, and Janna's passive. That first auto attack with the Trinity Force proc is going to do 600, 700 damage from a tanky man. It's going to be a big deal in the mid game, and it feels like if they don't respect this Hecarim, specifically if they don't disengage from his W while he's spell vamping up and then try and focus him down, he's going to run these fights.
Yeah, and we have to go back as well to our point about Perfections earlier on. I mean, the game that Direwolves managed to lose, Perfections gets camped. This game hasn't been looked at as a lot of harass does come through from Choo-Choo's, but Perfections, he's had run of that top lane, and that might be the mistake that Legacy have made.
Well, what Legacy have committed to, it's playing around Perfection. It's, all right, I'll take all your red and blue buffs, I'll try and get advantage on the other side of the map, we'll try and monopolize dragons, and hope that the game kind of scales away from Hecarim. Obviously, if the game goes even and Hecarim shows up at a fight, it's going to be a big deal for Legacy. But they haven't really been able to push the lead barring red buffs, and they haven't transitioned that into turrets. They're one up in turrets, but the gold lead doesn't lie with them. The dragons were even after Perfection's teleport zoned Legacy away. And this horse, he's going to be irrelevant very, very soon. He's already easily got enough gold for his Trinity Force.
Just not wanting to go back to base just yet. Wants to be able to pick up this outer turret and then potentially go and roam the map. Gets himself a nice chunk of gold for that one as well, and for his team. And that is going to be the first tower on the map here for Direwolves, answering the bottom lane turret, sorry, the Legacy managed to pick up earlier on. Of course, you can see Tallywacker now already with the Infinity Edge, those couple of assists helping him out, even on CS now with King, which is fantastic. Him picking up an Avarice Blade, so probably going to be able to head back and finish that Infinity Edge, you have to think.
The power spikes are on for Direwolves. They want to fight right now. Trinity Force Merc Treads already complete for Perfection. Infinity Edge complete for Sivir. This is a big point of power for Direwolves. They can take any fight they want because there's no way that Legacy can be competitive, barring a strong pick coming out of Choo-Choo's.
And Choo-Choo's definitely has potential to make that one happen as well. I mean, we saw his LeBlanc in the last game able to be exactly where he needs to be, killing exactly who he needs to. But he's going to have to do it to make this one work. Of course, if that horse gets anywhere near a team fight that's a 5v5, you have to think it's going to go in the way of Direwolves.
Yeah, he's a couple of items away from being unkillable. Right now, he's just trading upon the Spirit of Dread, spell vamping off all the damage happening in AoE. So if you can kind of navigate away from that as if he was, say, Karthus in his Death Defied and move away from that AoE and re-engage afterwards. He's still a melee champion with Trinity Force, like he's still killable. But he needs to be respected, and they just don't have a plan to deal with him as far as I can tell. They're treating him like a Nasus. They're saying, all right, you do your thing over there and we'll win the game elsewhere. And they've been on point with their dragon control, but Hecarim's going to start grouping very, very soon.
And you can see now Direwolves actually with a gold lead here as well as they pick up that second outer turret. This middle lane, outer turret is probably going to be the next point of call in the Direwolves as they transition around this map. Carbid going quite aggressive here as Choo-Choo's going to take his turn to dive in. Throws out that Mimic Sigil of Malice for a bit of damage onto Sharp, but not too much. Of course, that Athene's helping him out there as far as staying healthy.
And it's worth knowing that only outer turret left up for Direwolves to take down is this mid turret. You look down their lineup, not the best turret takers. 2 melee champions. Azir kind of struggles with turrets unless he has an AD carry that can help him. Only 500 range on King. I think the bunkering up will be just fine for Legacy. You wouldn't say that wave clear is their best trait. Morgana has wave clear, but it takes time. The rest of them need to get a couple of autos in from Jinx to clear those waves.
Yeah, but you have to think that the siege potential coming through from Legacy is definitely great. If Jinx ever sees a free turret, she's going to eat through it so quickly, and those rockets giving her so much range in order to take them down from afar. Even in a siege situation, that could be dangerous. And of course, with Choo-Choo's being able to delete anyone and then get the heck out, that could make things problematic for Direwolves. But you have to think that that is if Legacy are ahead, as Perfection's going to get hooked here. Dark Blinding not going to find its mark as Cardridge. Lets that one go a little bit wide.
And it's worth noting, as you say, a lot of lines to see. Usually it's you have Morgana in the support role, but it's Morgana, Thresh, and even the chains coming out from Choo-Choo's. You have to be so careful when defending. If you're anyone from Direwolves, specifically King, you throw 3 CCs his way, he's going to be harangued off a turret for sure.
Yeah, Void Rush is going to come in here as Perfection's looking to potentially start something up. Rek'Sai going to be off to the backside. Here's Sharp just going to zone some people away using his Sand Soldiers. Sharp going to get hit by that zap. Perfection's maybe aggressed on here, but there's the Onslaught of Shadows. Carbon taken down almost immediately. Ejim off the map here as well as a double kill from King comes through. Tallywhacker gets destroyed. A triple kill now. Perfection's picking up another. And Choo-Choo's the quadra kill for King. And Direwolves turn it on.
Direwolves turn it on so quickly there. You could see the immediate burst coming out. The Hecarim was huge, but no one paid attention to King. Even with the assassination kill on Choo-Choo's, just backing far too aggressively. And it's amazing how a team that's been farming up, Perfection's been up the top, topping the CS charts, 208 CS already on this Hecarim. They turn it on in an instant.
Yeah, and the dragon has just respawned here as well. So the second dragon going to be picked up here for Direwolves. Things looking a little bit dicey here for Legacy as Direwolves have shot up to a 5,000 gold lead, almost out of nowhere. 2 turrets taken and a dragon and an ace. Ridiculous. Let's have a look at the replay.
So we'll watch the fight. They get Perfection low, but that's not really a big deal. He gets into the mid-fight, but watch the burst damage coming from King, who's completely allowed to run at Tallywhacker. Why aren't you running around your AD carry? Well, it's because the rest of your team's dead.
Yeah.
And Choo-Choo's, he thinks he's all right. He's not.
Yep, that was a flash boomerang there as well. No fear at all coming out from King. And that was the first time that he's been in any fight for this game. Now 4-0-1.
Well, that's the first time Direwolves have gone aggressive the whole game. They waited 22 minutes. The Hecarim showed up with plenty of items. He's sitting on, 3,000 gold as well.
No worries.
This is fast escalating away from Legacy.
It is, and
Morgana top.
Now going to go back.
Not sure what it does exactly here, Atlas, in this team comp.
No, well, it certainly didn't do very much in that last team fight, and we'll see whether they show us exactly what it's used for in the upcoming ones, because that is an outright Spirit Visage.
That's
That's
an immovable horse at this point.
Yes, it is.
I mean, Jinx is a tank buster, so they have to respect the damage coming out from Jinx. It's not the 3-item Jinx just yet, so doesn't have to worry too much. They doesn't have a Randuin's, but this horse is already so powerful, able to walk into the middle of a fight. The Spirit of Jet is going to be healing for so much with the added spell vamp coming through on the W. There's a lot to worry about for Legacy, and we have to remember they didn't have to commit to this Morgana top. They had options. They very quickly decided to pick up the Thresh on top of the first bit Morgana, but Chopper is dead.
Yeah, Chopper in a lot of trouble. Does Monsoon to get himself a little bit of time back, but Tallywhacker gets that one, gets excited, but King turns it around. Carbon looking for him here as well. Is he going to get 2? He does the double kill against all odds. Almost manages to pick up Ejim, who's now going to die at the hands of Soul Strikes. And this player is insane.
King is going off in the mid lane. Choo-Choo's getting out-rotated by Sharp, but here comes the teleport.
Oh, there's Choo-Choo's falling down there as well. Cardrid picks it up, but it's a 1-for-1 only. Sharp manages to answer back.
That duel from King was insane. His use of the brush juking, he delayed the auto. Just wait till the end of this fight and watch his use of vision. So he manages to open up area from Carbon, and he holds onto his auto attack until Carbon is forced to face check for vision. He almost gets the triple kill on Ejin. That would have been top of Reddit in a second, but wonderful play coming out of King.
Yeah, that was incredible. Of course, if he had a little bit more life steal, might have been able to make it through that one, but of course opted for a pickaxe instead of a Vampiric Scepter, wanting to go for that last Whisper. before the Bloodthirster, but you can just see that Quadra kill getting King so much extra damage. And if we looked over before, that Avarice Blade wasn't even there. King only just recently picked up that...
Static Shiv?
No, it was just the boot enchantment, Alacrity enchantment on his boots, but he had the Static Shiv, had that pickaxe, and of course the Infinity Edge as well, so already just had so much damage. And now, I mean, they're going to be thinking about this horse and how huge he is in the backline because his farm is out of control. Now 20 CS up on the minute count, which is just so scary coming through from this top laner. But Siva's going to be wrecking people. I
mean, but she confirmed that in the fight with the Quadra kill. I love the Alacrity pickup just because you could say, all right, if she had lifesteal, she could have out-lifestealed and lived in that fight. She's just doubling down that passive movement. The fleet of foot with the extra 15 flat move speed is going to be able to open up more space from these melee champions like Carbon and get the damage in. So it's an aggressive option. It doesn't use an item slot. Not a bad pickup from King at all.
Yeah, and it's also flat movement speed as well, so stacks multiplicatively with her ultimate.
Multiplicatively.
Yeah, thank you
A word of the day from another day.
Yes, it was. But see, I learnt and I used it again.
Top marks.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Papa Smithy, the word god. King going to be taking down this Gromp, but the top side looks to be where the focus is now for Direwolves as Soul Strikes can use that Void Rush to get up there. Ejim is waiting. Kadra going to take just the tip of that. Boomerang Chopper actually gets hooked here a little bit. Back into the box here as well, as he's just going to use that Monsoon to heal himself back up. But this siege may not necessarily be on as Perfection's running around very quickly as this horse. Sharp forced to back away here as well. Going to use that E just to avoid the zap damage. And Legacy have an opportunity to start something, but Direwolves saying, nope. Our support took way too much damage, let's back away.
Yeah, I mean, just the same flavor you were talking about when it comes to poking under turrets is true when they're trying to take a turret. Direwolves will struggle to take turrets with just Siva trying to get in the autos. And if any of their squishy members eat one of these Lion CCs, we might see an overcommit coming from Perfection. So smart to back away, buy your items, get in position, because it's the dragons and the barons where Direwolves comps works the best. It's the open areas. When they're kept under a turret, a little bit more difficult for Direwolves other than the sheer turret dive.
Yeah, and we've seen Perfection's sort of Achilles heel sometimes be the fact that he just goes in on almost everything, but that time definitely playing it down just a little bit and really respecting Legacy and also knowing exactly what the comp wants to do. And they don't have to engage there. I mean, they have a lead. Why not just hold on to it? They'll wait for this dragon. This is going to be the place where they really want to hard commit onto a fight. I
mean, they have a lead, and even though it's a Jinx versus Siva matchup, they have a scaling advantage just because Perfection's going to run wild this game. He already is 104, 294 CS, rushing towards 300 before 30 minutes, so he's on a good clip. And I feel like every reference I make is a horse reference, but sometimes it's like that. And Legacy,
he's on a good clippity-clop, ladies and gentlemen.
Clippity-clop. They need to double down the vision, though, because, again, it's the picks. It's the Lion CC. That's all Legacy have, because in a sheer 5v5, Hecarim's basically already outscaled them.
Legacy now looking to try and get some sort of pick. Dragon, as you can see, respawning here as well. Legacy do have vision on the top side of that cliff, but down here in the pit, this Dragon going to be all for Direwolves. They're going to pull it out. Of course, no Sonic Wave's going to be making it over to pick that one up. They're going to have as much vision in there as they like. Super Mega Death Rocket going to come through, but not going to be enough, and Sharp is going to be the one to secure that Dragon.
Third Dragon, just for a bit more movement speed. Perfection was a bit slow this game. Now he's finally going to catch up to the enemies. Chuchu's trying to poke, but Perfection's like, what damage?
Yeah, I think he poked. Did he poke? Was that? I don't know. I think it was killing minions.
Some sort of sigil came through, but
yeah, not a lot of malice. That was a sigil of caring.
You can feel this game's impact in the neural network. You can see very aggressive tunnels towards the top of the map. But once the tunnel network moves past halfway, that's when a team's in trouble. But Soul Strikes...
Oh, speaking of in trouble, Soul Strikes is going to get taken down by a beautiful pick from Legacy. We'll see whether they can translate it into something else. As King, he's going to get flashed on. Ejim, just the tip of the hook, going to pick that one up as Tallywhacker going to throw out those chompers. Actually flashing forward. That Emperor's Divide was stunning, and no one able to get over the wall.
Yeah, two people tried to first flash and then distort over the wall, bounced back. That interaction definitely doesn't work.
Now I understand the name of that ability.
Yes.
Because that looked pretty distorted.
But I mean, Direwolves, the one thing that we said Legacy could do is get those picks with the Lion CC. They pick up too quickly, and they relieve pressure. They'll also pick up maybe an outer turret here as well. Big for Legacy.
Huge as Ejim and Carbon going to push down this outer turret. Direwolves, they don't want to let it go as The Lantern is going to get picked up here from Carbon, and he is going to be able to survive for yet another day. But as is the outer turret there in the mid lane, of course, 3 turrets now gone on the side of Legacy, but on the side of the Direwolves. But that's not true, because 2 of them are Sun turrets.
Yes, there is only the 1 turret down, so that's a global gold. It's 6,000 advantage. A lot of that global gold is 4 turrets down for Direwolves. 100
CS in the lead in the top side of the map.
This is it's getting disgusting how big Hecarim is at this point. Perfection, he can do this. He's one of the few top laners in the OPL that's really shown that if you let him go off, if you give him a matchup like this where there's not a lot of pressure on him and he can just farm it up, his laning mechanics are wonderful. And okay, I mean, his teamfight rotations, they're not perfect yet, but when you have such strong laning, there's just so much to work with on a player like this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that difficult to press that F button and just get in amongst the fight as well. Has that teleport available. Ejim taking a fair bit of damage as Chompers come down. Not even going to get spell shielded as they're not going to get procced just yet. And Legacy now on the back foot once more. We'll see whether they can get another pick, get themselves into this one as King takes down that Gromp. Now has himself a little bit of life steal and nice spell shield work there as well to block out that Sigil as the wave clear is on now from Tallywhacker. He is able to clear out these waves very, very well. Of course, has that static shiv as well as those rockets to really get that AoE happening.
It's worth noting also that Perfection's level 17.5.
My goodness. And you have a look around here at these solo laners. 14 for Choo-Choos. You can see 14 for Cardred now as well. And man, Perfections. He's just playing in a different time of this game right now.
There's no point split pushing against him. He's free in any lane to just farm up. Legacy, they need to get a pick. They need to punish Direwolves for the 4-1 split. They haven't got it yet, and they might lose their inner turret.
Oh, wow. That death sentence was so incredibly close as Ejim uncharacteristically misses that one. Soul Strike's now looking to try and get some Prey Seekers down. Dark Binding not going to find it. Perfections has made his way around here. And you can see conceding the inner turret as Perfections now just... He doesn't even care. Has the Frozen Heart. Those towers are just tickling him.
Yeah, he's sitting on 1,500 gold. He can buy whatever he wants. Choo-Choos is doing his best. This was Choo-Choos who really turned the last game on the head with smart pick play. He's required to do so much, but it's a different scenario. The frontliners are very, very tanky, and at 1-2-2, he just doesn't have the items to delete a frontliner. The Void Staff will help with, say, Soul Strikes perhaps on the Rex side, but... Perfection's not dying anytime soon.
No, I think they're going to need like 7 items to beat this Hecarim at this stage. Especially, of course, is going to have almost all of his abilities maxed out. Only 1 left. And man, this horse is just getting terrifying. 350 CS now at 32 minutes.
And I
mean, yeah, we were talking about King's Farm. Yeah, Perfections is amazing too.
Yeah, the GPM stats for Direwolves across the board are very, very impressive. Perfection, the one thing you can say is also interesting for this game is that they're sitting on 3 dragons. The 4th one comes up soon. You're getting definitely the 2015 flavor of League of Legends where, sure, this team can't siege very well, but when you pick up a 5th dragon, it doesn't really matter. They're almost at the stage now where they have 2 frontliners that can completely disregard turret damage. And you saw with the Scion bans, those sort of champions are of high priority or banned. But Hecarim, he's definitely not too worried about taking any damage.
Oh no, just going to head back to base now and probably spend all of that gold that he's picked up. We'll see what he does decide to go with next. Could potentially be either a Banshee's Veil or actually he's just going to pick up a Brutalizer. So going for that Ghostblade, no bad.
I'm surprised. I would have probably preferred to see the Giant's Belt towards a Randuin's just to completely shrug off a turret and do his best Scion impression. But a bit more damage. Maybe that'll be relevant in the fight. Maybe it gives him some assassination potential straight onto Tallywhacker.
Yeah, of course. When you do blow the active as well, gives you movement speed. So we do like talking about the fact that there's so many synergies with this Hecarim getting attack damage from his movement speed, but there it is, yet again.
Where's the Zillion, though?
I know, if only.
Missed opportunity. Would completely ruin their comp, but make them really fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sharp. We're going to have to get Cheese onto the team. Who plays Zillion. No, I'm sure Sharp can play it. Don't even worry about it. Zhonya's Hourglass, speaking of Sharp, is going to be completed now for this Azir. You can see as well, actually, Choo-Choo's quite far ahead as far as items are concerned, as he has his 3 big item pickups. Perfections was looking for that blue buff, but Cardred going to be able to secure that one and lock it down for Choo-Choo. Soul Strikes makes his way down to this bottom side. You can see Carbon might be in trouble, but it's Ejim that's the focus in the backside. Teleport going to get cancelled here, and Ejim, you are most definitely dead. Carbon, he's going to be exhausted. It's a decent kick in the flash, but not going to be here as the onslaught of Shadows just going to definitely secure that kill. And 3 dead, actually, is Tallywacker. He was taken down somewhere previously.
And the significant part of that fight was actually off-screen, is that King ran at Tallywacker and assassinated him himself. Nothing a Jinx can do in a 1v1 situation against a Sivir who's over-farmed, 7-2-4 now, had the item advantage. And look, there was no peel. Ejim wasn't next to him. No landing comes through. Instant kill.
Oh, Choo-Choo's looking to try and come in and do something to this dragon. Soulstrike's taking a lot of damage. Choo-Choo's picks up the kill. Now looks to try and secure dragon as well, but Perfections, he's here. He's going to be able to lock that one away. The distortion not available to be reacted to, and Sharp just going to come around and give Perfections a hand. And that's 4 dragons now for the Direwolves. And they have Legacy on a clock. You can see as well, Baron, another possible vantage point for Direwolves to get some more pushing power from. You can see they're now trying to get some vision around there. Ejim, of course, respawning and trying to do his best work to try and get some vision down. But Direwolves, you have to think, are probably just going to sweep that one out very soon.
Yeah, they're just happy to go top and farm those Perfection. They're not on a clock. They're not on a clock at all, Direwolves, whether implied from the 5th dragon buff or in terms of team comp. Hecarim's completely gone off. Sivir in the late game, she won't be Jinx, but in accentuating the strong frontline she has, is going to be doing just fine in terms of damage. And Tallywacker, he's just been struggling. Like, there's plenty of AD items. He's building up the damage, but his team has not been able to peel for him whatsoever.
And it's just so difficult to peel away Perfections on this Hecarim as well, who now has that Ghost Blade completed. You have to think that he's just able to get anywhere he wants. And in this type of team comp that Legacy are trying to run, what they want to do is have Tallywacker be untouchable in that backline with shields, with the fact that they have so much fantastic peel here as well. But they just haven't got to a stage where they can utilize that part of their comp.
Well, I mean, the big issue is that if she's at the back and dealing with a diver, they've got excellent disengage between Ejim, the Black Shield, but against AoE threats like Hecarim, they don't have that much to offer. It's not linear engage coming out from Direwolves. They have a lot of different options, and everyone will be closing the distance with the On The Hunt. So here we go.
Speaking of the On The Hunt, Tallywacker was there for a sec. Ejim as well. The amount of damage coming out of this lineup is absolutely insane. Direwolves now, look at Carbon. Half of his health from 1 crit. Triple kill now for King. I have no idea how to talk anymore because that was too much damage.
Yeah, I actually verbally gasped as instantly died, did Tallywacker. The burst coming out, the devastating charge Trinity Force proc, and a crit coming out from King, and he was dead.
Oh yeah, I thought that was just 1 crit. King is just doing so much work. That Baron just evaporates here as well as Choo-Choo's. He gets knocked up. Perfections looks for the kills, but Soul Strikes locks that one down. And Direwolves now just looking to find a way to end this game. Have the Baron, and they have the pushing advantage with 3 still dead and Choo-Choo's with another 40 seconds in the death chamber. You have to think this could be an easy inhibitor.
Yeah, Choo-Choo's doing his best to provide a lone hand. He understands that he's the only one on the map with enough mobility and pick pressure to cause havoc and really unseat the Direwolves. But Direwolves, they pick him up, they can disregard everyone else. Azir's not even at this fight, but with Perfection as he is, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, he's just going to launch himself in there, of course, taking almost no damage from the hyper carry Jinx, and now just going to launch himself out. Cardred in a bit of trouble. Soul Shackles sort of came through, but I'm not sure whether it did anything as Legacy trying to hold off the onslaught. King with shields for days, just going to be tearing through the members of Legacy. And again, back to that death chamber. Only 2 there at the moment. They do have a little bit of wave clear here, but King, he is so hyper aggressive. That boomerang almost finishing Tallywacker on its own. Oh my gosh, how did that even happen? Spell shielding so much of that damage. And Direwolves just going to end it here. It looks like the Onslaught of Shadows to come through as well. Another double kill. King runs onto the fountain because why the heck not? And Tallywacker is the last man standing, going to try and do what he can. Gets exhausted for his trouble. Perfections dives in as well. But, of course, this horse, so amazing. Able just to sidestep that Super Mega Death Rocket. And Direwolves, what a dominating performance and perfect knowledge of their power spikes in that comp.
What a graceful sidestep and kind of typified everything about Perfection's game. Legacy, though, this is what we said at Champions Day. We're like, who's going to deal with this Hecarim? The answer was nobody. Like, nobody could do anything. The Morgana was just kind of flummoxed. They didn't get the lane swap off. Despite the fact that they had the 3 buffs start, Carbon tried to double down with taking enemy buffs and was very successful. But they just couldn't ever force more than just taking a neutral or 2. And Hecarim outscaled everyone.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate, but let's have a look at a replay just to see how the Direwolves did it. And this is King with the sweet outplay.
So this is a very low kill game. It's only 8 kills at 23 minutes. The Direwolves, they're already significantly ahead of gold. I mean, so much of it's already on the Hecarim, but we'll roll the tape here. as King is going to get ganked. That's what's going to happen here, is that King will get ganked very, very shortly. As you see, Legacy are the first to react to the situation. Chuffer gets picked. He does fall, but this is when King goes so massive. So he uses extra auto weaving, but just watch him holding on to his autos in vision. He doesn't have any lifesteal, but he opens up space so well. And King, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about perfection because your eyes are kind of drawn to a massive horsey running around getting a million CS, but King, sometimes that Sivir pick doesn't work, and Jinx has been a really good champion for shutting down a Sivir.
Yeah.
But from that quadra kill onwards, King went off that game.
Yeah, and there was the fact that Perfectionist was causing so much of a ruckus in these fights as well that the short range of Sivir didn't matter quite as much. As long as you could pop that on the hunt, get everyone in there, in amongst it, and their just team synergy was so beautiful. And Sharp also doing a lot of work there as well. A lot of his walls were fantastic, but GG well played to the Direwolves. Played out that comp fantastically. We still do have